In 1930, at the age of 62, Laura Ingalls Wilder started writing the story of her life. She wrote a book called Pioneer Girl. But she sent it to publishing house after publishing house. Nobody was interested. No one would take it. But luckily for us, Laura was not a quitter. She wouldn't give up. So she decided to use that manuscript as an outline for a whole series of books about her life. And so she wrote Little House in the Big Woods about her time in Wisconsin, with much more detail about her early life. And again, she couldn't find a publishing house, but finally it was published. She found somebody, and it was published in 1932, and it was very popular. And after that, of course, the whole series of books of her whole childhood came out. In the book On the Shores of Silver Lake, Laura and her family are living in De Smet, South Dakota, which is actually where they lived longer than any of the other places they were. And Pa often sang a song called Camptown Races, which talked about betting on horses. Laura writes in the book, well, Ma did not approve of gambling, but her toe could not help tapping to this song. 1, 2, 3, 4. Camptown ladies sing this song, doo-dah, doo-dah. Camptown racetrack 5 miles long, oh, doo-dah day. Come down there with my head caved in, doo-dah, doo-dah. Go back home with a pocket of tin, oh, doo-dah day. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. I bet my money on the bobtail nag, somebody bet on the bay. Gonna run all night, gonna run all day. I bet my money on the bobtail nag, somebody bet on the bay. In the book On the Banks of Plum Creek, the family is living in southern Minnesota, right outside the little town of Walnut Grove. And the book says, when Pa began to sing Wait for the Wagon as they were riding to church, Ma turned to him and whispered softly, Charles, to remind him that it was Sunday. And so then altogether they would sing a hymn instead. But right now we are going to sing Wait for the Wagon. Will you come with me, my Phyllis dear, to yon blue mountain free, where the blossoms smell the sweetest? Come rove along with me. Oh, every Sunday morning my wife is at my side, oh, waiting for the wagon, and we'll all take a ride. Wait for the wagon, wait for the wagon, wait for the wagon, and we'll all take a ride. Wait for the wagon, wait for the wagon, wait for the wagon, and we'll all take a ride. In the book Little House on the Prairie, Laura writes, Mr. Edwards, the family friend, could dance to fiddle music like a jumping jack in the moonlight. And when it was time for him to go home, Pa played him down the road with old Dan Tucker. So we'll have Curtis play it on the fiddle right now, just like Pa.
Well, old Dan Tucker was a fine old man. He washed his face in a frying pan, combed his hair with a wagon wheel. He died of a toothache in his heel. Get out the way for old Dan Tucker, he's too late to get his supper. Supper's over and breakfast cooking, old Dan Tucker just stands there looking. Get out the way for old Dan Tucker, he's too late to get his supper. Supper's over and breakfast cooking, old Dan Tucker just stand there looking.
In Laura's third book, Little House on the Prairie, the family is living in Kansas, in Indian Territory. And in the book, Laura writes, Pa often sang this song, Oh Susanna, beside the prairie campfire.
I come from Alabama, got a banjo on my knee. I'm going to Louisiana, there my true love for to see. Oh, Susanna, now don't you cry for me, for I come from Alabama with the banjo on my knee. Pioneer.